Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, September 26, 2023. Starting October 2, children under the age of 18 years will not be charged a fee or be required to pay for services at the University Hospital of the West Indies, UHWI. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says the measure is in response to an influx of dengue cases at the Bustamante Hospital for Children. Dr. Tufton says the dominant strain in the dengue outbreak currently being experienced in the country disproportionately affects children 0 to 16 years old.
We have allowed or spoken to the UHWI, University Hospital of the West Indies, to allow persons affected who cannot be accommodated, particularly children, at the Bustamante Hospital for Children to take that overflow. Of course, the Bustamante Hospital for Children is on alert.
Dr. Tufton says the blood bank is also on high alert and will be conducting special blood drives to accommodate extreme cases where additional blood will be needed. Meanwhile, the health minister is urging school administrators to be aware of the symptoms of dengue as well as the procedures to follow when dealing with affected children.
There is a conversation taking place around looking at those institutions where mosquito breeding sites are present, how we eradicate those, working with the parish health team.
Mild cases of dengue may present with symptoms such as fever, headaches, joint and muscle pains. Persons with more severe cases of dengue may exhibit intense abdominal pain, fatigue, persistent vomiting, bleeding from the gum or nose, as well as blood in vomit, urine or stool.
If this happens, then you must seek advice from your doctor. You must either visit the health center, your private practitioner, or the hospital. If your symptoms are severe, then you must go to the emergency room.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health and Wellness is reminding persons that the recommended treatment for dengue fever is acetaminophen or paracetamol.
In 2019, our children were affected severely by dengue, and many of them passed. Now, a lot of those deaths was caused by the use of medications such as ibuprofen, diclofenac, and medications called non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs to treat fever. These medications either cause bleeding or worsen bleeding. I'm asking all parents, please consult with your pharmacist. Use only medication like paracetamol or acetaminophen.
The island's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Jacqueline Bisesa McKenzie, further recommends sponge baths to reduce the fever associated with dengue. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says science is showing that climate change is contributing to an increase in mosquito-borne diseases and the threat they represent. The outbreak cycle, he says, usually occurs every 5 to 6 years, but data is now showing recurrence within a 3-year period. Dr. Tufton anticipates the dengue outbreak could go up to December. As such, persons are being urged to take personal responsibility in reducing breeding sites of the Aedes aegypti mosquito, which transmits dengue and other mosquito-borne diseases.
So there is a plan. That plan has been activated, but ultimately it's about public awareness and public response. So I want to use the opportunity to appeal to the public to take the necessary precaution to protect yourself and your family members around you by protecting those sites where we have containers. Look into your homes where the vase is on the table or the whatnot. Look at the solid waste, the used tires, the old milk tins, and do what is necessary to avoid the Aedes aegypti mosquito from breeding.
In other news, Minister with responsibility for the environment, Senator Matthew Samuda, says recycling activities will be boosted in the coming months when the island's deposit refund scheme is legislated. Minister Samuda says the island currently recycles 22% of its plastic consumption. With the legislation, that figure is expected to be increased and make recycling a way of life.
You will have to pay a particular amount of money on a plastic bottle, and you get it back when you bring it back. So we'll be assured we're able to collect all the plastic bottles, keep them separate, and significantly increase our recycling in Jamaica.
The minister was addressing Monday's Tourism Awareness Week tree planting exercise at the Excelsior High School in Kingston. The deposit refund scheme legislation aims to increase the percentage of plastic bottles collected for recycling and improve the country's environmental and waste management thrust. Already, there is a private sector-driven voluntary recycling scheme which provides cash refunds to consumers who return plastic bottles after use. The Joint Select Committee of Parliament reviewing the Cybercrimes Act have recommended stronger penalties for offences against children to be included in the Act. That recommendation was among the submissions proffered in the committee's report, which was adopted in Parliament last week.
The committee supports the recommendation that there should be harsher penalties in relation to offences against children, and that there should be a distinction between the penalties for offences committed against children, by children, and adult offenders, and that the term of imprisonment be increased from 15 to 20 years for an adult who commits an act where the victim is a child.
Telecommunications Minister Darrell Vaz said the committee also recommended that the Forgery Act be updated to include an offence to deal with the possession of forged documents. Another recommendation from the review was a provision in the Cybercrimes Act to address the malicious sharing of images from scenes of accident or death.
After careful consideration, the committee noted that Section 9(1) of the Act would address the issue, but the intent to harass, cause harm, or the apprehension of harm would have to be proven. The committee also took note of the Office of Director of Public Prosecution's guidelines for prosecuting cases involving malicious communication on the said section, and observed that if the intent could be proven, the person affected could be pursued in a civil lawsuit.
And finally, persons eligible to become registered electors have 1 week to register for the next voters list. The deadline to apply for the November 30, 2023 list is Friday, September 29. In a release, the Electoral Office of Jamaica EOJ reminded that only registered persons on the voters list can vote in upcoming and future elections, polls and referenda. Individuals who register after September 30 will have to wait to be added to the next list, which will be compiled by May 31, 2024. To register, persons must apply in person at any EOJ constituency office. Applicants are advised to wear only bright or dark-colored clothing, not white or light colors, to have their photograph taken. Following this, a team from the EOJ will visit the applicant's residence to verify the address to complete the application process. The public is being reminded that there's no cost to apply for a voter registration card. To be eligible, applicants must be at least 18 years of age, a Jamaican or Commonwealth citizen ordinarily resident in Jamaica for at least 12 months prior to registration. Individuals who are already registered to vote should not reapply. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.